B.
Hello, gang. How are we today? Hello, everybody. It's good to see you all. Hi. I wanted to talk today before we head out to AFC. We're going to be on the East Coast again. Oh, we got a Croatian furry. I actually lived in Croatia for a little while.
Oh yeah, you know the chemical process.
It is good to see you. Hello, everybody. I wanted to talk today a little bit about the stuff that's been going on in the world. Try to bring some news to us, even though it's not necessarily all great news. What up, what up? It's good to see you all. Yeah, I lived there for 6 months in... Oh gosh, it would have been 2018 maybe? Or 2017? I don't remember. I was doing an exchange program. We lived in Dubrovnik, which was pretty cool. I hope everybody's having a good day. We do have a new prop. I don't know if I actually showed it, but I have achieved slide whistle. So we can always throw that into the mix. Yeah, we're gonna be going to Boston for a little while. Going to A&E in order to go to the convention and hang out with some of our friends. I'm gonna, if you're going to Annie, I'm gonna be there, so I'll be posting on social media. I don't think I'm gonna stream. I don't think I'll be doing a live stream from the convention or anything. A few hours to the flight. We fly out. It's a red-eye flight, so we're gonna be flying out closer to like 11 p.m. So we don't have to worry too much about that. So for now, I figure I'll just relax, talk about the news. I mean, it won't relax me to talk about news. It's good for humor for humor edits on YouTube. I am pretty funny. I am pretty funny. Everybody says I'm so funny all the time. I'm just so popular. We're still kind of wondering if like my biggest fan is going to show up again. All right. So today, unfortunately, we do need to talk about Minneapolis. We need to talk about all of the shit that is happening. In Minneapolis. All of that shit. We're gonna have to talk about ICE agents. We're gonna have to talk about fascism. So buckle up and get ready. First and foremost, let's pull ourselves over here to the news. I am not sure why, but when I'm changing my scenes, all of my like stuff is getting moved around. Like for some reason the chat is moving up and down between these two, and I cannot figure out why. I guess the canvas must be moved somehow. Because now if I do that, it's just gonna go up into the top. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Whatever. Man. June's making faces at me off camera. I can't do anything about it. I'm just gonna like, I'm gonna get a stick. And I'm just gonna poke her. He's fucking with my camera. Got my stick. I'll just drive her off. Ah! Back off. Ah! Ah! With a slide whistle on the way out. All right. Guess we'll actually. Right now, well, I guess the chat can stay up there. It's fine. All right, I want to play this guy. The way this guy's talking.
This is nuts. This is fucking yeah, and you're right in the middle of this shit. What the fuck is going on? Dude, this is insane.
Have you ever gone out to these sort of things before?
Never. I've never protested in my life. My brother's here. He does it all the time. I've never. Like I said, I'm far enough away, I'm close enough, and I sit in my cushy house and look at shit and get mad, and they're just trying to fucking scare people, and you know, but why shoot people? You know what really pisses me off is the fact that they detain people, cuff them, and then still beat the shit out of them. They tell you it's immigrants, only immigrants. It's fucking anybody. I have friends that got detained and all they were doing was fucking driving home from work. What the fuck?
Sounds like you don't fit the definition of the,
No, I'm not fucking paid to be here.
Alright. Turn off the music real quick.
Like everybody fucking says. What the fuck is that? I gotta work in the goddamn morning, just like everybody else. I'm just here trying to stand up for community, dude. We're all human beings here. I don't give a shit who you are, where you came from, what color you are. It doesn't fucking matter. This is wrong.
Fuck yeah.
This is nuts.
Yeah, this guy.
This is fucking
This
you're
is like
right in the middle of this
the most like just a guy that I've ever seen, maybe in my entire life. And I think truly, if the regime cannot keep a hold of this guy, they are doomed. This like they have lost the mandate of heaven if red-faced, bald-headed men are not on the side of the state. That's fucking awesome. Hello. How are you? Thank you so much for joining. Prowlo Bunny. That's so cute. Well, I love that profile picture. Maybe one day that'll be your dad? I hope so. I kind of hope too, right? Like, I feel like my dad is a history teacher. So you think at some point he would, like, have a breaking moment where he's like, oh, maybe I am doing the long time no see? Oh, cool. Welcome back. Yeah, you'd think that like they would be the first to it was the whole I actually I got a picture, June found it for me. But I think this is so iconic for like this whole movement. Just do what they say. Got the big don't tread on me flag. Yeah, Mr. Libertarian. All right. So I think we maybe have all seen what's going on in Minneapolis. If you haven't seen what happened in Minneapolis, there are large-scale protests happening against ICE, which is the government-funded immigration. It's supposed to be immigration customs enforcement, but they're not doing that, obviously. They are just Gestapo. Going now door to door to people's houses, demanding to know where people live, building databases of potential people to export from the country, and obviously all of this happens in the wake of the shooting of mother of three Renee Good, who was shot 3 times in the face by an ICE officer who was in no danger, and is now being framed as a domestic terrorist by the Vice President and President of the United States because she was a willful agitator, because apparently law enforcement officers now just have the ability to just shoot you, and they will face no punishment. Because again, this is not something that you do unless you know you're going to face no retribution. You're going to face no consequences for your actions. You don't have the confidence to do this sort of thing. I'm not going to show the video. Obviously, I think maybe we've all seen it. If you haven't seen it, it's probably worth taking a look once, unless you are really averse to violence. It is important to see the way that ICE and the officers that are being hired by ICE, because remember these are people that are being given sign-on bonuses, are being given legal protections, are being given full state support. I believe Stephen Miller had a recent interview where he was talking about all of that. Yeah, police, could you please investigate the police for us? Let me see if I can find the video. View police. Federal immunity. Let me see if I can find this on YouTube. I can't find it on YouTube, but I found it on fucking Twitter. Unfortunately, we have to go to the CSAM app, but it's here on Twitter. Yep, if you still have a Twitter account at this point, it's probably worth closing it, or at least locking it. I don't know. It's fucking crazy over there. Let's listen to what Stephen Miller says about this shooting.
To all ICE officers, you have federal immunity in the conduct of your duties. And anybody who lays a hand on you, or tries to stop you, or tries to obstruct you, is committing a felony. You have immunity to perform your duties, and no one, no city official, no state official, no illegal alien, no leftist agitator or domestic insurrectionist can prevent you from fulfilling your legal obligations and duties. And the Department of Justice has made clear that if officials cross that line into obstruction, into criminal conspiracy against the United States or against ICE officers, then they will face justice. To all ICE...
I just want to know if, like, when exactly facing justice or, like, committing a felony, right? Say, even if that's true, which obviously this is an overreach, this is not correct. ICE does not have federal immunity in its investigations. Officers are supposed to be held to a certain standard. They're supposed to be held accountable for their actions, and there are supposed to be rules of conduct. You cannot just give people carte blanche to do whatever they want. That is not what your job is, Stephen Miller. But on top of that, I want to know when the definition of committing a felony, like the justice for committing a felony, equated to getting shot 3 times in the face while driving away. Move chat. I can move chat about over here. How's that? Is that better? Perfect. It's probably gonna end up getting moved around more when we have to change to other pages and things like that. It works better over there when it's YouTube, I think. I have to reformat all of my screens and everything and figure out why it's moving stuff around. I'd been lazy and hadn't fixed it before, and now it's starting to be really annoying. Excuse me, goodness. All right. So again, that's not something that they do not have, like, federal agents do not have carte blanche to do anything that they want to anybody. That is just not what it means to have federal immunity, quote unquote.
Looked at her and I was like, 60.
No, you said 59.
59.
I just want you to know you're on stream. All right. Cool. Let's read a few articles as well. Turn on my music again. All right, Trump has claimed, let's remember again that this morning, Trump threatened to use the Insurrection Act in Minnesota to send troops in to attempt to support ICE agents, which, I mean, I'm not an expert, certainly, but I do not believe that is what the Insurrection Act is for. Not that the state does not have a long record of abusing its power, obviously, but either way, well, the Minnesota Star Tribune has been doing some awesome coverage over all of the stuff that's been happening in Minneapolis, so keep your eyes on this page. Trump claimed professional agitators and insurrectionists were among the demonstrations in Minneapolis as he threatened to invoke the Insurrection Act. The federal government released new details about the shooting in North Minneapolis that sparked protests. Give me just a second. All right. You'll have to forgive me. I got the COVID and the flu shot on the same day. And so I'm not like sick, but I feel like I have been punched in the immune system. So that on top of already not being very good at breathing. President Donald Trump this morning threatened to use the Insurrection Act in Minnesota after a federal agent shot a man in the leg during an alleged attack on the agent. The Insurrection Act of 1807 would allow the president to deploy troops domestically. It hasn't been used for several long decades in the U.S. and was last invoked to respond to the Los Angeles riots after the police beating of Rodney King. On Wednesday night in North Minneapolis, witnesses say a series of gunshots followed a car chase and foot chase involving federal agents. Federal and local authorities said a man was shot in the leg after an agent was attacked with a snow shovel and broom. You know, proportional response. Law enforcement and about 200 demonstrators clashed for several hours, with chemical irritants and flashbangs being deployed and some protesters vandalizing vehicles at the end of the night. I did want to bring up, like, that I think was important. Like, they were using, like, the fucking Joker gas. Did I have it on this page? I don't know if anyone else saw it, but it was, like, this fucking green gas they've been using. I don't know if that's specifically it. There was this bright fucking green gas that was being used. Which people have... Yeah, this stuff. This shit is, like, straight up poison. Throwing flashbangs at people. And abandoning their cars, too, where people have been finding other license plates. Various Fed patches, so they were able to, like, change their appearance and organization, which is illegal. Like, you should not have multiple license plates. That is ghost plates, patch swapping, mission-specific identities. This is covert ops or secret police or, like, stuff. This is straight up Gestapo shit. They have, like, screenshots with instructions on where to store people that you're detaining. And they're just leaving this shit around. They're completely unorganized. They're getting it, like, what is OPSEC even? It's just it's embarrassing. On top of everything else. On top of all of it, and like how unforgivable it is, it's embarrassing. They're just bad at it. Okay. The shooting reignited tensions between protesters and law enforcement a week after Minneapolis resident Renee Good was shot and killed by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent Jonathan Ross. I think it's important to say, like, Jonathan Ross, I believe, was also involved in previous clashes with the public. He's been an ICE agent for, like, years. I think, like, he has a record of doing this kind of shit. And he's not going to get punished. I would be shocked if we see any sort of retribution for the straight-up murdering of an American citizen this guy did. Calling her a bitch. Alright, we've also seen... whistleblowers are dropping ice leaks to show off who the people under the masks are. A Department of Homeland Security whistleblowers released the identities of about 4,500 ICE and Border Patrol employees Tuesday in what has been called potentially the largest agency data breach for the department. The killing of 37-year-old mother Renee Nicole Good by ICE agent Jonathan Ross last week in Minneapolis has prompted the leak of personnel data to the ICE list, an online database created to promote accountability by the masked federal agents, according to a report from the Daily Beast. Excuse me. The onslaught of national outrage reportedly led to the major leak. It is a sign that people aren't happy with the US government, clearly. The shooting of Good was the last straw for many people, Dominic Skinner, ICE List founder, told The Beast. Information included in the new leak includes around 1,800 on-the-ground ICE agents and 150 supervisor. Early analysis by the organization suggests that around 80% of the staff identified remain employed by DHS. Someone inside leaked something, it looks like. So this is a full list, hopefully, of... I would like to see the database, if I can. While that loads. The first batch of names was slated to be posted on the site on Tuesday night. Members of the public have reportedly also shared information about agents in hotels and even neighbors. I've had hotel staff sending post-it notes, bar staff sending DHS IDs, and loads of people saying their neighbor is an agent, Skinner said. Skinner told the outlet he was working to verify the names. ICE and CBP are in clear need of reform, and I believe working for either is a bad move on a moral level. I totally agree. They are offering the worst kind of person, someone who is under duress, chronically underemployed, probably. There is a bug on my camera. Chased it off. Okay. Oh. Yeah, can we see all agents? Oh, look at that. Wow. Matt Chan, Walter Chahovich, Dennis Carroll. Dang, that's a lot. $1,500. It's genuinely kind of sickening seeing all of these people. But it is really nice to see all of this shit. Like, go check this out. There's been a fly buzzing around. We got that. All right. That was fine. Attracted to my lights in my camera. 4 hours ago, a federal agent shot another person in Minneapolis, and then Trump threatened the Insurrection Act. The Trump administration's offensive against immigrants in Minneapolis and those who seek to help them continued to intensify Wednesday night and into Thursday after a federal agent shot another person during an immigration operation. President Donald Trump, in a Thursday morning Truth Social post, threatened to invoke the Insurrection Act, a centuries-old law that allows the president to deploy the U.S. military domestically. The move comes after another chaotic night in Minneapolis, during which a federal agent shot a man in the leg, according to the Department of Homeland Security. The city of Minneapolis said that the man was taken to the hospital with a non-life-threatening injury.
Excuse me.
According to DHS, the man was a Venezuelan national who was a target in an immigration operation. The federal agency claimed in a statement on X that the officers were assaulted on the scene prior to the shooting and that an agent was also taken to the hospital. And I'm gonna be real. If they're gonna just be shooting people, I think you should be allowed to hit them with stuff. You should be allowed to throw shit at ICE. You should be allowed to hit them with shovels. They got guns. They can grow up. I saw videos of people throwing bottles of piss into moving cars. Let me see if I can... I'm gonna pull this off and take a look myself.
He said someone threw a bottle full of... He said someone threw a bottle full of piss at you? Is that what...
Yeah. You wanted... All this is all piss.
You're okay with me coming over to take a shot of
All this, somebody threw a bottle of piss, and it went all inside the vehicle, too. And all over me, so...
Awesome.
Peaceful protest you're seeing.
That is peaceful protesting.
Red lights. You guys are gonna T-bone into some family.
Yeah, for sure.
Drive safe, like... Come on.
They're like so pissed off that they're not the heroes. I'm pretty sure throwing piss is, I mean, I guess it could potentially be assault. Maybe battery. It's probably battery. I think spitting on someone is battery. But I also don't care. I think you should be allowed to throw piss at ICE. You should be allowed to throw piss at the ICE people because they are domestic terrorists. If they're using the same argument to say that because Renee Good, if they think that Renee Good was a domestic terrorist and that's why she deserves to get shot, I think they're domestic terrorists, so we should be allowed to throw piss at them. I don't know. I mean, it feels even to me. In a post commenting on initial reports of the shooting, U.S. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said Wednesday evening that there was a Minnesota insurrection happening. Blanche, who used to be Trump's personal attorney, accused Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz of encouraging violence against law enforcement. I don't think they've done that at all. Both Frey and Walz have both multiple times called for peaceful protests against ICE actions in the city. Walz and Frey, I'm focused on stopping you from your terrorism by whatever means necessary. That's not a threat, it's a promise. That is a threat. I mean, haha, I guess it's not a threat, it's a promise. You sound pathetic and stupid. But that's not going to stop them, obviously. They have been, like, pepper spraying people. They've been using the fucking Joker gas on people. It's crazy.
I am driving around somewhere in Minneapolis following activists who are following Border Patrol. It's already started off, I feel like, extremely violently for something that's just begun. We were at a gas station in St. Paul yesterday. An agent pushed an activist who swatted him back, and then he got tackled and arrested. From what I saw and from the video that I have, definitely the agent touched the activist first for that first arrest. And so that's kind of like an escalation out of the gate because the guy is just standing there recording. Shortly after that, agents busted out the window of a car that was at a gas pump and then dragged a guy out of his vehicle. He appeared to go unconscious at some point. They put him in their car and took him away. We heard Commander Gregory Bovino say that he was a Honduran national and they would be checking his citizenship status. There was one activist, he was one guy.
You can't fucking do that to people. I don't care if they're like, again, like, you can't just fucking do this to people. I thought that one of the big things that we were supposed to hold sacred in America was that we were innocent until we were proven guilty in a court of law of some kind of crime. You cannot just blanket statement, call somebody something, and then just decide that they deserve this kind of violence based on that. Like, resisting state power is supposed to be an American right. Isn't that why we have the Second Amendment that everyone is so proud of? Is it not the right to bear arms against an oppressive government? I feel like this is, like, the resistance against this is extremely American.
In one
Can't-
car following
yeah,
him
you can't
home,
just
being
do this
driven
to
behind
people.
him. Border Patrol got out of their car. They were banging out his window, telling him, you know, this is your only warning, not, you know, you gotta stop. And I imagine it's quite scary, you know, to be sitting in your car and have it surrounded by masked men who are banging on your windows carrying guns. Everything is very aggressive. I mean, Border Patrol has arrived, and Border Patrol has a much more aggressive culture than ICE does, and I think that's kind of having probably some sort of trickle-down effect. And they're bringing in a lot of new agents. As I understand, they brought in 1,000 more last night. In addition to the 1,000 they had already brought in.
So
and
fucking
so
many.
The city's pretty heavily saturated with them.
And how are locals responding to the increase in their neighborhoods?
A lot of, you should go kill yourself. You should go back to Texas. Minneapolis doesn't want you. Minnesota hates you. Everybody hates you. Go fuck yourself. They're pretty clear about how they feel. A couple days ago, we saw there was some ice. It was ice that was stuck in an icy residential street, and people came out of their homes to heckle them, telling them, you know, this is $1 billion budget. You don't even have 4-wheel drive.
Ah!
And no one helped them. They were there. It had to be for half an hour because it took us 20 minutes to get there.
That's
And
fucking
they finally-
hilarious. Holy
we got stuck
shit.
in the exact same spot. And people came out of their homes to salt the roads for us.
Yo,
Out
that's
on Sunday,
awesome.
And you saw Greg Bavino. That's unusual, you were saying.
Yeah. It's pretty unusual to see Bavino on a Sunday. They always, you know, almost always take Sundays off. In Chicago, a lot of times Saturday would be the most violent day, but it could also be a Tuesday or a Wednesday where things would get very crazy. But Sundays were kind of just, you knew you had the day to do nothing. You could do your laundry and watch TV on Sundays, but I guess not anymore. So even not taking a day off seems like kind of an escalation in some ways.
Tim Waltz speaking to Minnesotans, urging them to continue to record ICE actions. If you see these ICE agents in your neighborhood, take out that phone and record. Help us create a database of the atrocities against Minnesotans, not just to establish a record for posterity, but to bank evidence for future prosecution. Trump wants this chaos. He wants confusion, and yes, he wants more violence on our streets. We cannot give him what he wants. We can't. We must protest loudly, urgently, but also peacefully. I think that overall the call for peaceful protest, while we like to idealize protest as like peaceful protest as being the thing that people will listen to it, I think we have done the peaceful protest bit and it has not worked, and the escalation is coming from the government. And if the state is escalating to violence, then I think we should also be using violence. They forget, I think, that peaceful protest is actually the alternative that we are trying to use to be more civil, in order to have civil discussions, in order to show the support for ideas. And when those peaceful protests are ignored, the only other option is to show violence, because otherwise they won't listen. We will be begging to people that do not care to listen. They don't need to listen to us. They don't have to. They are in power. So I think it is a fool's errand ultimately to stay to try to like take the moral high ground of a peaceful protest in something like this. This long ago stopped being a matter of immigration enforcement. Instead, it's a campaign of organized brutality against the people of Minnesota by the federal government. That makes total sense. They have obviously been targeting Tim Waltz, especially because he was their political opponent in the last election, and a lot of people really liked him. I wanted to talk about this. I found an article off of the 404 Media. I did not have an account, so I just grabbed an archived shot of the page. Palantir. Elite, the Palantir app ICE uses to find neighborhoods to raid. Awesome. I love that we are AI generating this shit. And let's remember again, Palantir is a Peter Thiel company. All of this shit can be traced back to these weird fucking billionaires. It's almost always going to be something signed or funded by Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, people that have ties to... Hello, motherfucker. Hey there. People that have ties up to people like Curtis Yarvin, a lot of people like Trump, that listen very heavily to Deepak Chopra. All of these conservative minds, quote unquote, all kind of run in the same circles. And again, fucking, if you know anything about Lord of the Rings, Palantir is a ridiculous name to call your company, simply because the Palantiri are very powerful seeing stones, yes, but the whole onus of them is that they are also like, we do not know who holds all of them, and if they are held by the enemy, they can be used to influence our minds. So it is just like literally naming your company the evil artifact. An artifact, not only that, an artifact that could potentially be used for good, but is instead being used for evil. It's just very on the nose. A lot of data from a lot of flock cameras got leaked. I don't know what that is. I was not aware of that. Excuse me. Palantir is working on a tool for immigration and customs enforcement that populates a map with potential deportation targets, bringing up a dossier on each person, and provides a confidence score on that person's current address. 404 Media has learned ICE is using it to find locations where lots of people it might detain could be based. The findings, based on internal ICE material obtained by 404 Media, public procurement records, and recently sworn testimony from an ICE official, show the clearest link yet between the technological infrastructure Palantir is building for ICE and the agency's activities on the ground. The tool receives people's addresses from the Department of Health and Human Services, among a range of other sources, according to the material. That is so fucking weird. Like, I personally thought that it was actually not okay to share medical stuff like that. Ad coming in 2 minutes, no problem. The news comes after Department of Homeland Security head Kristi Noem said the agency is sending hundreds of more federal agents to Minneapolis amid widespread protests against the agency. Last week, ICE officer Jonathan Ross shot and killed 37-year-old citizen Renee Nicole Good. During Operation Metro Surge, which DHS calls the largest immigration operation ever, immigration agents have surrounded rideshare drivers and used pepper spray on high school students. Block is street camera surveillance that use AI to detect if you do crime 24/7. That's awesome. That's some watchdog shit. Enhanced leads, identification, and targeting for enforcement. Elite. So fucking lame, by the way. Of course they're going to use a stupid fucking name like this. Is a targeting tool designed to improve capabilities for identifying and prioritizing high-value targets through advanced analytics, a user guide for Elite obtained by 404 Media says. The tool aims to be nearly all-encompassing. The tool aims to be nearly all-encompassing when it comes to finding ICE targets, from identifying subjects in the first place to building a list of people to supervisors approaching selections for officers to ultimately go in the field and apprehend. One feature of Elite is the Geospatial Lead Sourcing tab, according to the user's guide. This lets ICE see people it may potentially want to detain on a map interface based on various criteria such as bios and IDs, location, operations, and criminality. An ICE officer can then select people one by one or draw a shape on the map to see people in that selected area. Awesome. Just like put them on a map. Like fucking sniffies, like fucking Grinder for fascists. I guess Grinder is Grinder for fascists, though, to be totally honest. Flock has explicitly blackmailed the police into increasing their sub fees by locking them out of their own systems before. That's kind of fucking hilarious, I'll be totally honest. It is straight up evil, but like on all fronts. But it is very funny. Because it's AI, it constantly gets false positives and false negatives. That makes sense to me. Like, it's all just doing its level best to be fucking stupid. A computer... What was it? What was that IBM guide? A computer can never be held liable, so it should never make a business decision, and yet now it's deciding whether or not we go to jail. I'm gonna grab some water real quick. Throw music on.
You're right.
Figure out how to make it hallucinate. That's awesome. The off-camera vomiting. So sorry. Yeah, sorry. I am coughing a lot today. I have gunk in my lungs. Elite has already been used by ICE to target specific areas, according to sworn testimony from an ICE official in Oregon. In October, immigration officers waited in 3 unmarked SUVs outside an apartment complex in Woodburn. They went on to bust a driver's window and pull a 45-year-old woman from a van, used ICE's facial recognition app Mobile Fortify on her, and agents had the goal of making 8 arrests per team per day, Oregon Live reported. Lawyers representing the woman say authorities arrested her and more than 30 other people in a dragnet. What is... It's like Google Maps. Google Maps for fascism. That's so fucking crazy. Additionally, in a text thread of immigration officers, someone described the area as target rich. That's so fucking crazy. It's just more of this, like, prison industrial complex, because they want you in prisons so they can force you to do labor. They can force you to do whatever. Sorry, yeah. Just crazy to call it target rich. That's some shit you say about places where you're going to, like, drop bombs. That's insane. They use information from Clear, but nobody knows what that is, except it maybe is a thing contracted with Thomson Reuters. Why is there an arrest goal? Because it's that they don't care. They just want to hurt people. Like it is a power push. It is an attempt to scare people, I guess. I mean, obviously. They just want to put people in prison. They want to arrest people, and then they say, oh, we'll just figure it out later. As if they're not just shipping people off to concentration camps. It's not entirely impossible to think they might be getting, like, monetary rewards for catching a certain number of people, too. It's not how crime works. You're super correct. That is not how crime works. You're right. You are right. That's why this is all really bad. Like, there is no situation. We'll watch a debate thing later talking about this stuff. Yeah, cruelty is the point. Absolutely. Groups of pre-identified aliens specifically targeted by leadership for action. That's insane. They can just push stuff to the app and the government can be like, get these guys on your app. Are we really like Uber Eatsifying immigration enforcement? That's insane. I do not like that there is an app for it. And this is all pulled because, like, again, Minneapolis is the focus because of the recent, I don't know if y'all saw the YouTube video about, like, from, like, the Somali, there was a guy going to, like, daycares and focusing on how, like, Somali citizens were, doing fraud or something like that, even though the only, like, recorded case of fraud for a daycare in the area, or one of the most significant ones, was a white woman that was doing it. But they're just using it as justification to send in the fucking troops. Like, obviously all of the information that we're giving to the surveillance companies, or like whether we want to or not, it's really not our choice anymore. There is no privacy. They know everything about us. But those are absolutely going hand in hand with the state enforcement. The Gestapo have your social security number, and they're coming for you. Just don't be too gay, or they'll shoot you. That, I think, is the fucking craziest thing, is now they're all being like, oh, she was a gay woman, so she deserved it anyway. You can't even fake your death anymore. Yeah, I would imagine it must be fucking impossible to do something like that. Yeah, right. No, they already know my face. I might as well put it out there. Reminds you of slave patrols? It is. I mean, American police, they are slave catchers. They existed originally to catch slaves. Oh, I already know I'm a public dissident. I'm on the list. When I stop posting someday, just go to the dumbest named concentration camp, and that'll be the one I'm at. Just try to save me before they shave my head too much. I really like my hair. Wouldn't be the end of the world to get it all shaved off, but it would piss me off, that's for sure. I would bite somebody about it. The fact that ICE is using this app proves the completely indiscriminate nature of the agency's aggressive and violent incursions into our communities. This app allows ICE to find the closest person to arrest and disappear using government and commercial data with the help of Palantir and Trump's Big Brother databases. It makes a mockery of the idea that ICE is trying to make our country safer. Rather, agents are reportedly picking people to deport from our country the same way you'd choose a nearby coffee shop. Yeah. That's fucking ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, we're supposed to believe in things like the fact that we're guilty until proven innocent. We're supposed to believe in things like a right to trial. We're supposed to believe in the rule of law, but none of these things are the case because now that the rule of law doesn't matter, and what matters is, I mean, it's the whole Trump cult thing, right? It's anything like Trump is America. We are putting the power in the seat of the president so that his word is law, which is not how we're supposed to do things here. And like all of the Americanized propaganda that I swallowed that said America was the best country on earth, we were the best country on earth for a reason, and that was because we were free. We were free to do what we wanted and be the kind of people that we wanted. We were free to have opinions and disagree with the government. Call the president a fucking shithead. And if they're going to respond with violence to being called names, if they're going to respond to peaceful protests with violence, then I say we should be allowed to fucking throw piss at them. We should be allowed to throw piss in their cars. If they don't want to get wet from all of the piss, they should have just soaked in piss beforehand. Have that piss protection. You can't be miserable because you're soaked in piss if you come already pre-soaked in piss. Obviously. You might not make enough piss for all of them, but that's where we all come in, comrade. It's our piss. The people's piss. The Elite User Guide does not say who developed the system, but the tool's distinctive title exactly matches one including an addendum to a Palantir contract from last year. It says Palantir should continue in configuration and engineering services for Elite and other DICE tools. That supplemental agreement for $29.9 million started in September and is planned to go on for at least a year. They are paying this company $30 million to build a database so that they can go and do Uber Eats for fascism and pick up your fucking neighbors from the street and beat the shit out of them in handcuffs and then shoot them. Because that's what's happening. And remember, if this can happen to a middle-class white woman, lesbian or not, it can happen to anybody. And if you're advocating for this woman deserving it, for just having a dissidential views, or whatever, you are advocating for the loss of your own rights. And it is ridiculous to me that people don't see this. I was raised by a man who I don't agree with, right? But I was raised by a man who taught me American history and taught me the reasons that I should be proud of this country. And it's embarrassing to say the people that he says and purports are the people that he thinks are the ones that are set to run this country the right way, advocating for the exact opposite of all of the things he taught me I was supposed to value in a country. It's embarrassing. And I hope that someday a fucking reckoning comes for these people. For sure. Ask if they'd rather be weird or normal. That's a little weird. Yeah, I see your comments. You can, it doesn't really matter. I don't really like the idea of like being normal, right? I don't think there is a normal. I think I definitely understand the desire of wanting to fit in better, right? Maybe when I was growing up, I wished that I had fit in better. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. All right, let's we're gonna throw on something from the Majority Report, talking about they're interviewing Ken Klippenstein about how we are all domestic terrorists now.
To the program, Ken Klippenstein, who has been doing just amazing work over at Clip News, his Substack, in uncovering the, I guess the programmatic machinations.
I do want it to be said, I think one of the things that I really like about Sam Cedar as a presenter and as a commentator is that he shows you do not have to have all of the eloquence in the world to be an effective communicator and an effective speaker. He ums and hems and haws a lot while he like thinks his way through his sentences, and sometimes that makes him go back over his words and say them over again, and very much in the way that I do sometimes. I just did it there, but like I don't know if I pull that from people like him, but it makes me feel at least more confident. Especially as somebody who like goes back through all of my videos where or most of my streams, and I'm going back over the things that I say and the way that I say them. It is helpful to know that precision and perfection are not always necessary for effective communication.
Of rolling out this fascism in this country. I mean, I don't know how else to articulate it. Like we see on the ground these jackbooted thugs, but in the between there and the administration, it is backfilled with would-be laws, and this is the sort of the scary shit when fascism comes to town. What they do is try and make everything fit within a so-called legal framework, and that's what they've been doing. And nobody's been reporting on it better than you, Ken, I should say. And I really appreciate you coming on to talk about it. As far as I know, you were the first person to report on this NSPM 7, the National Security Presidential Memorandum 7, right? Or at the very least, you got an early copy of it. I can't remember because it was more than 35 minutes ago, and I don't remember anything prior to that.
Yeah, that's right. The initial reporting on it was kind of interesting. So many outlets just got it wrong because they confused it with the presidential designation of Antifa as a terrorist group, and it kind of shows you how much they're able to hide in this bureaucratic morass of national security because it's so complicated that even the practitioners don't often understand the full extent of what's going on.
And now, is that like, why do they do that? Like, is that by design? Is it so that they can internally say, look, here's the memorandum. What you guys are doing is legal. I mean, is that what's going on here?
Yeah, so in the case of the Trump directive, another reason that I don't think it was taken very seriously outside of shows like yours, which have been fantastic about having me on and people seem engaged and seem to care about it, which is part of my puzzlement at Congress not making more of an issue of it, because anyone I tell, I'll just quote a few parts from it. It defines terrorism along what are called indicators, or indicators that the document, which is, you can go on my newsletter and read it. It's right there. I'm not making this up. I'm not editorializing here, although it's going to sound like I am. It identifies indicators of terrorism as being anti-Christian sentiment, anti-American sentiment, anti-capitalist sentiment, anti-quote traditional family values, whatever that.
I don't, yeah, that's not, you can't, none of those things are things that would cause somebody to be a terrorist. But again, it's ideological warfare. They're doing ideological warfare. They're telling us the way that we can think and the way that we're allowed to be. Which, again, is something that they're not supposed to be doing here. Again, this is supposed to be the land of the free, right? We're supposed to be able to be whoever we want, even if we don't get along with our neighbors.
That means, so this casts a very wide net, and it's not symbolic. I think another part is that Trump says so many crazy things. I can empathize with media's frustration with knowing when to take it seriously or not. But I think what was missing here was that context to realize that NSPM 7 stands for National Security Presidential Memorandum 7. Presidential memorandum is very serious. There's only 7 of them. That's what the 7 refers to. 6 is classified. They're usually classified. When Carter had his own memorandum in the 1970s, changing the nuclear posture of the U.S. Vis-a-vis Russia, this created a huge backlash, and there were protests, and because it was understood that that is a high-level strategy articulation to all of the federal government that, hey, guys, this is our new priority set for the next 4 years. So it wasn't rhetoric. This was like a reorganization of the national security state around terrorism as defined by those indicators I was just describing.
And we should also say that I don't know that we have had a more compliant executive branch. And by that, I mean, in terms of like these agencies, I don't know that we've ever had the amount of turnover and the amount of political appointees in these agencies. So to the extent that this memorandum would have the force of law or a force of regulation, it's a directive to an incredibly compliant national security state at this point.
Yeah, it can't be stressed enough how different this Trump administration is in regards to national security. That's what I focus on in my newsletter. In the first term, there are certain through lines between each term, but Tulsi Gabbard is director of national intelligence. He tried to get Gates and didn't quite pull that off. Got Bondi, who's probably the most pliant attorney general in U.S. history, and that's an extraordinarily powerful position. You have Kash Patel, you have Pete Hegseth. So those guardrails in the form of people familiar with the institutions that have some kind of self-definition of themselves as like, I'm someone who cares about the Defense Department as an institution, that doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah,
So
they moved.
When we hear reports, and we've had 6...
all of these individuals, like all of these associations, all of these independent agencies that are supposed to operate separate from the office of the president, in order to provide additional checks and balances, allowed to allow for further limitations on the power of the president, because one of the things we're supposed to know as Americans is that we don't want to concentrate too much power in the hands of one person, because if a bad person gets in power, But all of these agencies have been stripped of their funding, stripped of their power, stripped of their staff, and their higher-ups are being replaced with Trump loyalists. I mean, there is a lot of reason that the Project 2025 goal sheet is so far along I believe we were over 50% of the goals complete, and in the first year, the guy behind it, who is on Trump's staff, by the way, who's been assigned an office that lets him control the budget, but the guy that organized and wrote Project 2025 has said it's beyond his wildest dreams.
Members of the DOJ Civil Rights
Like, that's a
Division,
big deal.
quit in the past like 3 or 4 days because of the failure of investigating Jonathan Ross, I believe it's Jonathan Ross, the ICE agent who was responsible for shooting and killing Renee Good. They have resigned because of the failure to investigate that. However, we're also hearing that the FBI is investigating both Renee Good and her partner. I don't know if she was officially married to this woman, but when we talk about...
They're investigating them?
Investigation of people who hold anti-traditional family values. I mean, I know what traditional family values means because, 20 years ago, this was the debate that brought George.
So what, they're gonna say that they're domestic terrorists because they didn't they were non-proponents of traditional family values? They're gonna say because these women were lesbians, they were domestic terrorists? That's fucking bold, because if that ends up being the case, then they're literally just labeling all queer people domestic terrorists for existing. That's insane. I mean, they're already doing it just to people that are here for any reason. Just Hispanic and black people have already had that fucking target put on their back. Just enemies of the state because your skin color is different. Insane.
W. Bush to make a primetime appeal to the American public as to why we should change the Constitution to outlaw marriage equality. And when they say anti-traditional family values, they're talking about gay people who are married or coupled. And I imagine also, trans people or any type of setup that isn't man, woman, boy, girl, and picket fence. And so this is grounds for them to find that Renee Good and her partner were essentially domestic terrorists.
Well, and SPM7's fingerprints are all over this, because if you go, and again, the document is public, you can read it. They describe anti-ICE sentiment and threats to ICE as terrorism. And there was a follow-on directive from Attorney General Pam Bondi, which explicitly mentions the details that describe the incident perfectly. It talks about threats to ICE agent as including quote, impeding or interfering with ICE operations, which, to be clear, is illegal. But they've cast it now as some kind of domestic terror threat to the officers.
That's
which,
insane.
If you watch the video, you can say that, her car being parked was blocking things, but there's just no evidence. I mean, I don't see how anyone can watch that and say that there was some kind of violent intent there. I just don't know what to say about that. But anyways, that is explicitly mentioned in the Pam Bondi follow-on directive that was in response to NSPM 7. So what that means is the whole of federal law enforcement and the intelligence community has been tasked with finding examples of that, and it's created a psychological environment where they see that as terrorism. They see it as aggressive. That's been one of the most alarming parts about reporting on this, is realizing how much these guys really believe that stuff. And it might sound like rhetoric to us, and
they're so ready to swallow the pills that they're being handed. They're so primed to just repeat the talking points and just be the foot soldiers. These are the same fucking online losers who are on incel forums, who are on like 4chan and 8chan, that are gonna be happy to sign up God, I think I probably need to check on like some people that I used to know and just make sure they're not on this fucking list. Oh boy. Just all of the fucking washouts. All the people who society rejected because they had a terrible personality and refused to do anything to change are now being paid cold hard cash to be professional douchebags and violent douchebags at that. Just given guns and carte blanche to shoot unarmed civilians. It's sickening. Genuinely.
You can laugh it off, but you know, if a person's information diet is first of all like the federal bureaucracy you're working in there, and then maybe you have conservative media, you're going to be bombarded with these stories about these, you know, hordes that are coming to kill you or whatever, and some number of people do believe that within the agency. So, anyways, I think that also gives context into why they're trying to find evidence of terrorism associates of goods, because another part of NSPM 7 is mapping out the structures, finding the funding. I interviewed one person that had gone to an anti-ICE protest in Arizona, and he described to me he had video of this on the Ring camera. I published the video. You can watch it. 2 FBI agents visiting him and asking him, one of the questions that he described to me was, what can you tell us about the funding of this operation? And he's like, funding of the operation? What do you mean? And they say, you know, the protest. And he said, as they kind of went back and forth, that he realized they really believe this stuff. Like, he tried to tell him, he's like, it was spontaneous. Like, we just see deportations, people were upset. I saw it on Instagram. I just went out there. They were like, yeah, but who's running it? They really, there are elements within the FBI and federal government that think that there's going to be some shadowy cabal that they're going to go and find. And so I think that's what's happening in the background here.
Yeah, I think it's very easy for people to underestimate the depth in which I just remember, I mean, back in 2004, I remember talking to he was maybe a sergeant at that point. I think we had him on the show. He had written a book, and we had him on for the book. And then we started talking to him in the run up to the RNC, and this guy was seemingly normal in many different ways, but was absolutely convinced that that there was like all sorts of that the hordes were going to descend on New. I mean, they were geared up, and that's part of what is done. Like they are stoked and dipped in these sort of like conspiracies. But we should also say this both has the impact of creating a mentality amongst these feds, and it also provides a legal framework for them, or at least an instructive framework in which the way they should behave, and some semblance, at least from the leadership, that they have justification for what they're doing. Let's talk about I mean, you've written a bunch of different stories I'd like to hit.
There's so much here to cover, unfortunately.
It is insane.
Yeah, that is tragic.
You had 2 pieces, or really, I guess now 3 that we should talk about, and maybe we could talk about them in unison. You just had a piece that came out exclusive on secret ICE programs that you've revealed. Let's get to those in a moment. But you wrote a piece a couple of days ago that ICE is okay with Renee Good's killing, but simultaneously, immigration agents are terrified of the ICE backlash after the shooting. Talk about that paradox and what's going on. I mean, we can see in their behavior since you wrote the first piece on the 9th that their answer has been double down.
Totally. Yeah. So there's a huge disjunct between their public bravado within hours of Renee Good's killing, Homeland Secretary Christine Noem basically dragging this poor woman's corpse through the mud and saying she's a terrorist. Imagine getting killed. And in addition, I mean, you know, some number of people are going to think whatever they're going to think about the video, but to take, okay, so you can say, you know, maybe this woman should have got out of a car. What was the psychological state of the cop? What, you know, were there reasons he was afraid? You can have a debate about that, but to say she was going to kill him and she was a terrorist within like 2 hours of the thing,
ludicrous.
Not only struck me as absurd, as I talked to people in the Department of Homeland Security, a lot of them thought that as well. They can't say so publicly for the same reason that anyone in job doesn't want to go out and criticize their employer. I don't want to overstate things and give you the impression that the majority of ICE agents think that. That's not true, but there's a sizable minority within the Immigration Services, Border Patrol, ICE, that do think that, including in senior ranks, because they look at this and they think it's not good for a number of reasons. One, just basic moral reason that a lot of people had revulsion watching it, but another one is the effect that it's going to have on the agency. It's destroying any reputation federal law enforcement might have had, not just ICE, but federal law enforcement generally, as was described.
Obviously good, but
in the
still,
FBI,
like that's a
recently,
reason to
much
be
at the
worried.
top of this segment, Justice Department people resigning over it. That's exactly the stuff that they're worried about, just from a purely cynical, self-serving point of view, that it's going to destroy the public faith in these institutions that has been very carefully put together over the last, 50 years or so, since Watergate and all that. But yeah, talking to folks, I was surprised because I've been covering national security for about 10 years now. And so I know people at these different agencies. And when I polled them, I was kind of thinking, all right, time to get an earful about why I'm wrong about this or whatever. And that wasn't what my experience was. I wouldn't say their views are the same as mine or that they're lefties by any means. But it was a lot closer to my point of view on this and a lot farther from the administration's. So I think part of what we're seeing when the administration gets out there, and you have Vice President J.D. Vance saying it was terrorism, President Trump says she was going to kill him, the Homeland Secretary, it's like they're creating this unified front that doesn't actually reflect what the attitudes are behind the scenes and in the bureaucracy.
We've got a lot of footage. I mean, yesterday we dedicated a significant portion of the show to just, playing clips from out of Minnesota, and they were horrific. And since within the past 24 hours, we have clips now of, this came out of California, I guess it was a week or two ago, maybe, a guy getting shot in the eye with a pepper ball. We have clips of a woman being...
Yeah. I don't think I want to sit here and watch this full 40 minutes, but why not end us on a high note? I don't want to stick around for too much longer because I do have to finish getting ready to go and make sure that we're ready. But I will play us out with a Jovan and excuse me, and Jimmy Snow on the line. I watch these videos all the time and I have my own opinions, and I just wanted to, I think it honestly, it's gonna be so nice to watch this because I know for a fact that our biggest fan, the bitch who stopped by yesterday or on Tuesday, is like just fucking hates the line. Did I get any YouTube chats today? I have not been looking. Oh, one person with a bunch of emojis. Whatever, doesn't matter. Hey.
Nick in Florida. Nick in Florida, you are on the line with Jimmy and Jovan. How are you, Nick?
Good. How are you guys doing tonight?
Just fine.
Use some company.
Thanks. Nick, first of all, how old are you?
39. I've called Jovan in the past twice about Christianity stuff.
Yeah, probably a fan of his, but not me. That was a joke. Nick in Florida, 39.
Cool.
How? So not me. Nick, how many times have you voted for Donald Trump?
You're allowed,
once maybe,
but I don't.
Twice? Which times did you vote for Trump?
When he ran against Joe Biden and when he ran against Kamala Harris.
Got your ass.
So versus Biden and Harris, but who did you vote for in 2016?
I didn't vote.
Just abstain. Okay. I just like getting a little bit of the recent voting history from people calling in as, looks like you're calling in as a conservative. Would you describe yourself as MAGA?
No, not MAGA.
Why not? Where does MAGA go too far that you wouldn't say you're a part of their movement?
I don't like to.
So you say,
you know,
put myself in the category of what other people are in as much.
So there's not policy differences. You align with them, but you just don't want to be. You don't want to wear the shirt.
Yeah, I'm not gonna like rock MAGA and do all that stuff.
Do you have a MAGA hat?
No.
Oh, excuse me.
Okay.
No, I mean, I've been very critical of Trump to people I know, and I've been, sometimes.
What's the
but
thing you've been the most critical of Trump on?
I don't even remember millions of conversations.
So on a scale of 1 to
just
10,
about-
how would you say he's handled the Epstein files? 1 being the worst, 10 being the best.
I don't know what to think about that. I would say 5.
5. Okay.
Yes. But
what about?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with all that. It's crazy.
What about his deploying ICE and the National Guard to cities on a scale of 1 to 10? Where would you put that?
Not knowing your stance on where, like, the Epstein files, maybe like the easiest thing. Maybe the easiest thing to have an opinion on ever. But like, if you don't have you don't even have your stance on it. You're like, oh, he handled it 5, like average, like normal. I'm centrist on I'm centrist on CSAM actually. Yeah.
As far as deporting undocumented immigrants I would be in agreement, but I wouldn't be in agreement in the way he's gone about it. Just seems like he's attacking.
So a number would do 1 to 10. Yeah. So what would you score that
5,
overall,
5,
knowing you like some and dislike? 5. Okay.
5 again.
So you're kind of middle grounding on some of his biggest issues, essentially. All right.
Yeah.
So then you called in to say the ICE agent was wrong, but there was a lot of lead up. Person driving was also in the wrong. So if we had a scale now, we're going to stick to this 1 to 10 scale. We've got the ICE agent, and we've got Renee. On a scale of 1 to 10, how in the wrong? How bad of an offense was what Renee, the driver who was shot? On a scale of 1 to 10.
This is such a good way to like force them to stand on these sort of things.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how severe a crime and an offense do you think it was?
A crime?
Just how bad? On a scale of 1 to 10,
like,
how bad was what she did?
People that are like dangerously centrist like this, people that refuse to have an opinion, I think it is so fucking funny to just nail them to the wall and force them to have an opinion on something. Like, like, pick something, motherfucker. Scale of 1 to 10. It's super easy.
Under a 5, for sure.
Okay, under a 5.
Maybe a 2 or 3.
And
yeah,
how
I mean,
bad was what the ICE agent did in response to her beginning to move her car forward? In response to her crime, we'll say. The thing she did that you just rated under a 5. How bad would you say his response of unloading 3 bullets into her face was?
Yeah, I'm not sure how to. I mean, look.
You're not sure?
There may have been a part of it that.
You're not sure? You're sure you're not sure?
Side of the car when the car's passing. There was no.
Do you acknowledge, Nick? Do you acknowledge that per federal policy, you're almost never allowed to shoot at a moving car?
Not from the side of a moving car. Not like he did with the extra shots he was shooting. Definitely not that.
No, like just like in general, you like it's standard policy that firing at a moving car is prohibited almost 100% of the time.
Even if the vehicle is
yes.
clearly trying to hit you, which may not relate to that case.
Yes.
Actually, by the way, correct. Even if it's clearly trying to hit you, unless it's trying to hit you in a way that you can defend was for the purpose of trying to kill or seriously injure you. So there would actually be, even if the vehicle is trying to hit you, say they're only trying to hit you at 10 miles an hour.
How views on... I don't know if I want... I mean, the way that sentence was structured, confused me. I don't really want to know that information.
Was she was less than? Even a direct oncoming, they would say the reasonable thing to do at
Why
that
did you say
point is
marriage
step out
age
of the
for
way.
females?
Also, it's in the policy.
I know.
That the
I think that's bad. I think that's not good.
firearm should not be fired unless there's no other means of defense. And the very first thing they say about means of defense is moving out of the path of the vehicle is the first means of defense, which he could have done because he moved into the path of the vehicle. Had he not gotten in front of the car,
he was kind of doing that already.
Yeah, he instead of just moving out of the way, he pulled his gun, which is prohibited via federal policy.
So Nick, you said she was less than a 5. Was he less than a 5?
Yeah. No, he turned out to be the aggressor, and that shows when he fires into the vehicle when the vehicle's already beside him.
You're not gonna get good opinions on that because people aren't gonna tell you, right? Like, I feel like that's not something that you can ethically study, because anybody, I think, that has a positive opinion of it should probably ethically be reported to the police.
So is he less than a 7?
Not in danger.
I want a number. I want to get to a number or a range of numbers. Would you say he was an 8, a 9, a 10?
How wrong he is?
How bad the action he took was?
I would say an 8 or a 9.
8 or 9. Okay.
He's not.
So let me ask you this. I want to go with something that I think is similar, a less than 5. Do you own any? Are you into yard work? Do you have like a nice lawnmower, Nick? What's something like you pride yourself on and have possessions of that you are proud of those possessions?
I love when they just dog walk these motherfuckers through like basic logic exercises.
No.
Okay, let's pretend you have a really nice lawnmower because I don't know what to do right now. You have a really nice lawnmower, Nick. If you see that I am getting onto your property, would you say that?
Well, yeah, but that's because patriarchy is inherently pedophilic. Just like I mean, capitalism in general, and capitalism is usually patriarchal, right? So patriarchy in general is pedophilic because you're claiming, like, it all depends on the power dynamic of claiming innocence, and that's why virginity is prized, and that's why women who have had no other partners are prized. It's all about the power that comes from defiling something pure. So, I don't know, I guess rich people are probably more likely to be pedophiles because the kind of mindset that you need to have in order to become rich, or that will be instilled in you if you are raised rich, tend to lean to the more pedophilic. Well, women are property, yeah, so says the evil book.
It is okay for you to show that you have a gun as a way to try and deter me from stealing where I'm clearly about to steal your lawnmower. You can tell the crime I'm about to commit. Would you say that it's acceptable to show you have a gun so I might assess, is that gun a danger to me when I'm stealing your lawnmower?
No, you should never do that with your firearm.
Really?
I don't even agree with that. I wouldn't. If somebody like popped up on mine and I see they're stealing, I don't mind showing my holstered weapon. I'm not saying lift it, just holstered weapon.
No,
okay, fine. That's fine.
It's a threat. It's a threat. You shouldn't do that unless if you're intending on using it. Because
if somebody's trespassing on my property, I don't mind doing it for also the sake of going like, I don't know what you're doing here, but if you are here to threaten my life in any way, you're one of us will probably end up dead. Let me finish. Let me finish my line of questioning with him real quick. So, Nick, let's say you actually see that I am stealing your lawnmower and I am walking away with your lawnmower. I've definitely, and it's a nice one. This thing is worth thousands of dollars. Is it appropriate for you to kill me to stop me from committing that crime?
No.
Okay, well, the government considers something that expensive and that good. Now it's a felony theft that I am doing, and you're saying it wouldn't be appropriate to kill me. So I am doing something that I would argue is in the same range of less than a 5. And if you were to kill me, would you concede, Nick, that that would mean you are murdering me?
Yeah. If they're trying to take possession, you're going to shoot them, then you're murdering them. And I mean, at
so
the end
can
of the day,
we then agree then that the ICE agent wasn't just wrong, but they were both wrong? The ICE agent was wrong. They were both wrong. But at the end of the day, she was trying to leave the situation she was in. She wasn't trying to harm anybody. And he murdered her for it. If what you're saying was murder in the case of the stealing, that
walking
the
him through it,
are
walking him through
fleeing a
it.
Scene, by the way, a very confusing scene with people who aren't clearly marked as police or anything, but fleeing a scene versus murder.
So why was she there in the first place? That's what I'm.
That's not.
It was her neighborhood.
But yeah, like.
That's why
it was her neighborhood.
Why was she like blocking the road in the further?
Doesn't to tell you the truth. Whatever you decide it is, I'm fine with with it being. I don't know what it was because that is still up. That is still up for discovery. We may never know the truth since now the FBI, the federal investigatory branch, has blocked. Minnesota is now no longer allowed to participate. The state. And you're a conservative, so you must be against this because you should be pro-states' rights. Minnesota is now not allowed to investigate the crime of a federal officer.
I thought I'd been hit by a truck. I am not hit by a truck. I moved.
So
I was hit by a life event.
Great. Will you acknowledge that he murdered and what she did does not justify murder? So they were both wrong. He murdered her. What she did was murder.
Yeah, I believe he murdered her. But I do believe that there's a couple of other things I'd like to explain about.
What do you mean? What other things?
If you want to go ahead with your questions, you've acknowledged it was a murder.
If you're saying it's murder, why are we?
But let's see what Javon had questions too.
There more? We're gonna have more.
If he acknowledges it was
but just a couple things.
Yeah. So I mean, because there's, you can't just say murder without adding.
I hate moving.
To it.
Moving's been okay. Moving ultimately, I won't talk over the video, but moving has been a very, very good experience for me so far. I am working hard at this. Obviously, I've got all of the things I'm doing. I need to get my butt in gear now that everything is settled. We have all of our things here. The next steps are to attempt settling of finances and things like that. Now that most of our holiday trips are over and everything is all set.
Look from the perspective, we don't know whether or not he's able to tell if she's intending to run him over or not. It's likely that
it's very obvious she wasn't. She was. You can literally see her car executing a 3-point turn so she can get out of the way.
Yeah.
Because one of the ICE agents yelling at her. But wait, really quickly, Nick. One of the ICE agents yelling at her is telling her to leave the scene. So she's trying to leave.
Which I also right before she takes off, I hear someone saying stop, and I hear you could see that the ICE agent.
I don't. All of this is like, but why are we defending it still? Why are we saying, oh, it's like you don't know how it was like for him. You don't know what blah blah blah. It's all just. It's just suckling on the boot. It's just saying like. Do you think it's because they think it would protect them in a similar situation because they could see themselves doing the same thing? and they're like, well, I would want people to stand up for me. So, like, I don't know. It just feels so weird to need to, like, suckle the boot like this so much.
If you're in front of this vehicle, it could be hard to tell whether or not someone is attempting to run you over. I mean, you're not looking at the tires moving. Like the first thing you do at a moving car.
Take ice out of it really quickly.
You look at
Nick,
the tires. You look at the tires.
Nick, he acted completely against policy. Take ice out of it. Even police officers are not supposed to get in front of cars to try to stop them from leaving. That's against policy.
Yeah.
You are not supposed to jump in front of a car to try to prevent that car from moving.
And Nick, he wasn't in front by the time she was moving. Hey Nick, where did the shooter?
People are going to try and justify.
Where did the shooter come from?
Justify is him shooting him on the side, shooting on the side.
Where did the shooter come from? When the vehicle before it reverses
came from
and
the
it's facing forward.
It looked like from off.
Yeah, came from from a vehicle on the right, correct?
Yeah, he put himself in front of that car. 100%.
And was it not a vehicle that, as she was trying to perform her 3.4 turn, she had just waved past? She literally is doing this turn. She waves past. The vehicle passes her, stops. He gets out, puts himself in front, and shoots her.
I think it's subjective to what she was trying to do. She was just trying to leave, or she was trying to let me get away because they're going to arrest me. You know?
Either one wouldn't matter.
You know.
Well, but here's the thing.
It doesn't matter, yeah.
Because they killed her. They decided execution was the better option, as opposed to.
Well, that particular ICE officer did. The other ones didn't shoot at her. Just that.
But they all defended him.
My follow-up to that is if it's the case, right? Why didn't they let? There was a medical professional on scene. Why didn't they let him go provide medical attention? They stop him. He literally goes, "Can I go check and see if she has a pulse?" They go, "No."
Yeah, I didn't hear that happen, so I'm not sure what you're referring to.
They said we have medics.
But if it did,
and he was like, "But I'm a physician." We have medics, but I'm a physician.
As of this time, I just see the footage on what for the most part you can hear. I heard one
again. If you look at Nick, if you slow down the footage, her wheel is turned away from the ICE officer who shoots her. It's turned away from him. She's not trying to hit anybody. So because her intent was not hit, the next thing that we have to look at was
I've never seen Nirvana, the band, the show.
Very clear her intent's not to hit. If the wheel is turned away from him, the intent can't be to hit him. I don't know how you hit someone going the other direction.
You also can't assume that the ICE agent that
no, but that's what I'm saying. Now we get into
is under that assumption because he may not know at the time when he
now we get into the ICE agent's response. Wait, Nick, this is when we get into the ICE agent's response. So we know her intention was not to hit him. Now it becomes his response. So he broke policy by getting in front of her car. He broke policy by not moving out of the way. And then he broke policy a third time by shooting her. So that's 3 times he broke policy. Whatever way you slice it, he's at fault. Had he not violated federal policy, there wouldn't be an issue.
Yes, and that's correct. If he's violating federal policy and doing that, he is 100% absolutely.
No, I'm sorry.
The other thing too is just because what she's trying to do or what she is doing, what we can see her doing, that does not mean that the person in front of that car is seeing that as well. We're seeing from a different angle.
We literally have multiple angles.
You see an object moving in front of you.
And you just shoot it. You just have to kill.
Federal policy 3 times. I don't care what his reason is. Had he not violated federal policy, he would have had no reason to discharge his gun. Correct?
Yeah. Well, the reasons do mean a lot. Because those reasons can determine what
the reason why he violated policy. Had he not violated policy, she would still be alive. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So even if you want to claim he didn't murder her,
she would be alive.
If you want to say it wasn't a murder, it's still an unlawful killing because he violated federal policy multiple times.
It's also not okay. It's not okay to be in the middle of the street doing all that, and it's not okay to be constantly
doing what? You don't know what she was doing. Wait. How is it interfering when one of the cars drove around?
I'm
Did a
assuming
car
that she
drove?
was. Yeah, I'm assuming that she was interfering.
Nick, listen to me, please. Did a car drive around her? Did a car move past her? Like one of the ICE agents' cars, did it move past her?
I would have to look at it again, but probably.
The answer is yes, because that's where some of the officers jumped out of a car from. They came out of a car that already drove past her. So clearly she's not blocking the road enough that they can't move past her, and they aren't police, so they have no jurisdiction against traffic laws. So they can get past her. They chose not to.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Dude, I'm sorry, man. This is like such clearly an authoritarian occupational force that there's like the whole thing you're trying to give me is this both sides, but like
I don't understand both sidesism at all, especially not on this.
run the banks a little bit or something. Like this is giving so much of the like, yeah, I get that the Nazis were bad, but they weren't unprovoked. It is so clearly authoritarian and against everything the conservatives pretend to be against. And you're sitting here literally you wouldn't defend a doctor in the same situation. A doctor fails to meet policy, fails to do a surgery the way the surgery is supposed to be done, and that results in your loved one or a person on your side of the aisle, I think is what it would take, dying. You would be like, then that fucking doctor is a murderer. And there wouldn't be this like, but the patient, we don't know whether the patient had some other factors. Maybe they had obesity, some heart disease.
I can only speak for myself. And look, if it's determined that she is trying to get away and avoid, avoid them stopping her, whether they can do that or not, which I'm assuming they may not even be able to do that. You shouldn't be trying to.
I can read the. Did I read you the federal? I can read you the federal. Wait, Nick, I can read you the federal policy right now. Please? But you're saying if they were allowed to do that, I can read the policy where it says clearly they're not.
Yeah, that's fine. So then, yeah, they shouldn't be doing that. But it also doesn't give people the right to constantly obstruct the ICE agents like we've been seeing over the past year. And
oh my God, it's just sucking the boots, eating the laces.
Trying to kill them, and all the things we see, people
who shot and tried to kill them.
People are interfering.
Who are the examples? Interfering, fine.
The shooting at
who
one
cares?
of the agencies.
Interfering that passes a legal barrier, those people get arrested. You're describing peaceful protest, literally peaceful interference that is allowed. Nobody's advocating for a person not being arrested if they're shooting. What are you talking about?
We have throughout the past year, we have constantly seen people interfere and get in the way of ICE agents and try to stop them from performing.
Yeah, peacefully.
It's been constantly done over the past
year. Yeah, that's allowed.
This is why we're here. I mean, as we stand right now, it is a threat to be an ICE agent. You are under immense threat. There's people who want you dead, and it's quite clear. It's quite clear with how we see the attempts on their lives already. And we see how people.
Oh, do you think this guy is an ICE agent?
Went from peaceful protest to attempts on their life. Where are the attempts on their life? Are they in the room with us right now?
We can't keep. Look, we can't keep messing with them and then expect a great outcome. Like this shit was bound to happen.
They're literally an occupying. They're literally an authoritarian force. Do you think what you already said earlier? You think what ICE is doing is wrong? That you like the idea of deporting, but not the way ICE is doing.
Immigrants.
Hold on. Again. I'm just gonna. We have the footage of this incident. This is the most She's in the road. There's a car that goes around her as she's waving the car through. She then looks at the second vehicle and waves that vehicle through to go around her. So that's not obstructing. Saying you can go around me is not an obstruction. So she wasn't obstructing shit. And then an officer.
She was still trying to leave, and I did quite clearly
I'm sorry. At what point did ICE agents become police? At what point do ICE agents
I think
get the jurisdiction?
it's probably
to
worth
handle traffic?
opening up this article real quick. I think we get it there. We're not taking the cookies. I want none cookies. But Trump says the US shouldn't even have an election as he threatens the Insurrection Act. He's mused about skipping the midterms as approval for his administration continues to slip. As Republicans face slipping approval ratings and growing voter discontent, President Donald Trump is musing about canceling or refusing to accept the outcome of the 2026 midterms. It's some deep psychological thing, but when you win the presidency, you don't win the midterms, Trump told Reuters in an interview published on Thursday. When you think of it, we shouldn't even have an election. The comments came on the heels of an interview the president gave to the New York Times in which he repeatedly danced around a commitment to respecting the results of the midterms, claiming that he always respects the results of elections, but the elections in our country are rigged. Earlier this month, in a speech to Republicans at a congressional retreat at the Kennedy Center, Trump complained of having to even run against these people, referring to Democrats. Now, I won't say cancel the election, they should cancel the election, because the fake news will say he wants the elections canceled, the president added. He's a dictator. They always call me a dictator. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt was asked on Thursday about Trump suggesting multiple times that the midterms should just be canceled. She claimed Trump was just speaking facetiously and simply joking. Are you saying that the president finds the idea of canceling elections funny? Reporter Andrew Feinberg asked in a follow-up. Were you in the room? Leavitt snapped. I was in the room, and only someone like you would take that so seriously and pose it as a question in that way. While the White House is attempting to dismiss the comments as an extended comedy routine, the president himself has continued to threaten authoritarian action. On Thursday, Trump threatened to invoke the Insurrection Act against ongoing protests in Minnesota in response to unrest following the killings of 37-year American citizen Renee Good by ICE agents. If the corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the patriots of ICE, who are only trying to do their job, I will institute the Insurrection Act, Trump wrote on Truth Social, and quickly put an end to the travesty that is taking place in that once great state. The Insurrection Act would allow Trump to federalize members of the state's National Guard in order to suppress the protests, which have remained generally peaceful despite increasingly violent displays from federal agents deployed to Minnesota. A series of polls published in January have recorded a sharp spike in disapproval of ICE and the types of enforcement tactics being employed over the course of the administration's deportation surge. A CNN poll found that Americans say 51 to 31% that ICE enforcement actions are making cities less safe rather than safer, and another 18% say there's been little effect either way. A separate YouGov poll found that 52% of respondents disapproved of how Immigration and Customs Enforcement is handling its job, versus 36% or 39% approval. As Trump's administration struggles to claw back public support amid a volatile economy, international turmoil, and increased revulsion over the administration's use of force in American cities, it's no wonder Trump would rather skip this year's elections. I bet. Yeah. It's not the first time he has joked, quote unquote, about elections just being kind of an obstacle. Obviously, he's saying he's not, like, he doesn't, I always respect the elections, as if he didn't have the most, widely publicized scandal for not accepting an election. Oh my god. It's so frustrating having family members, swallow that, and then, regurgitate those lies. And then to be talked to like you're an idiot when you're like, hey, that's really stupid and you shouldn't listen to that. Well, not a lot that we can do, unfortunately. Hearts and minds, friends, hearts and minds. Alright, well, I need to, unfortunately, I need to get ready to head out. So I'm going to pull ourselves away from here, throw some music on, give y'all a little time to chat, And then we'll find somewhere to go. Find somewhere to raid. Check my whispers. What's that? What does that mean? Twitch messaging? I don't have any. Either way. I'm gonna find us somebody to raid. Let's do that. Who's live right now? Alright, friends. Sell you with some Power Wash Simulator. Alright. I will see you all soon. Thank you so much for being here. Like I said, I'm going to be at A&E this weekend, so if y'all are there, I'll also be posting on Blue Sky. I'm going to be taking video and pictures and stuff, and we'll cover the convention and the things that I saw when I get back. All right. Yeah. I will be back on Tuesday, probably. If not, Monday. No, we'll be flying out on Monday, so. Alright. Well, have a good rest of your night, everybody.